In a small town in Texas, nestled under the quiet hum of everyday life, a shocking tragedy would unfold that no one could have predicted. It begins with a wedding, an event that, for most, marks the beginning of a lifelong commitment. For Pastor John Clark and his bride, Officer Rebecca Lane, it was supposed to be the start of a bright future, full of promise and happiness. But just 24 hours after they said their vows, John's world came crashing down. A secret Rebecca had been hiding for years surfaced, a secret that would push him to the breaking point. What happens next is more chilling than anything you could have imagined. This is no simple case of love turned to rage. This is a story about betrayal, trust, and a devastating realization that came far too late. How could a man who dedicated his life to serving others, a pastor with the highest morals, be driven to murder? What was the secret his wife was hiding? And how did it lead to her death, just hours after the wedding? A family torn apart. A life lost. And a twist no one could have seen coming. This is the shocking case of Pastor John Clark and Officer Rebecca Lane. And it starts with a lie so deep, it could have destroyed everything from the very beginning. It was a day like any other in a quiet Texas town. The sun cast a warm glow over the picturesque church where Pastor John Clark, 38, and Officer Rebecca Lane, 34, stood before their loved ones. The vows exchanged were filled with promises of loyalty, love, and a future together. The kind of future most people dream about. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. But as the newlyweds drove away from the ceremony, neither could have known that in just 24 hours, their lives would be shattered forever. By Sunday night, just a day after their wedding, John Clark was standing in front of a police officer, a look of disbelief on his face. His voice, barely audible through the phone call, trembled as he reported that his wife, his new wife, was dead. "She's gone," he said. "I don't know what happened, but she's gone." The police responded immediately, arriving at their home just as the shock began to settle in. Rebecca Lane, the woman who had once sworn to protect the people of her town, was now a victim of an unspeakable act. Her husband, the local pastor, was at the center of the scene. As detectives entered the home, a question lingered in the air: how could this have happened so quickly? Was it love that turned to violence, or was there something more? What followed was a chilling investigation, one that would uncover a shocking truth, a truth so unexpected that even those closest to Rebecca could hardly believe it. The woman John thought he married, the woman he had trusted above all else, wasn't who she seemed to be. Behind her badge, behind the uniform, was a woman who had been living a double life. Rebecca Lane had been hiding a secret that would unravel as the investigation moved forward. She wasn't just a police officer, she was a thief, and had been for years. Her criminal activity had been hidden from everyone, including her new husband. But now, it was all coming to light. The murder had taken place within a day of their wedding. What drove John Clark to kill his wife so soon after they exchanged vows? Was it a crime of passion, a sudden, uncontrollable burst of anger? Or was there something deeper, something that had been festering in the shadows long before the wedding day? As the truth began to emerge, the questions only grew. What was the motive? What drove a man, a pastor, to such an extreme? And what did it mean for the woman who had lived two lives, the wife, the police officer, and the thief? The story was just beginning, and it was far from over. John and Rebecca Clark had been the perfect couple. To anyone who looked from the outside, they were the embodiment of success and stability, he, a respected pastor, she, a dedicated police officer. Together, they seemed to represent everything good about their small Texas town. They met years earlier at church, where John, with his deep voice and gentle demeanor, had led services that brought peace to his congregation. Rebecca, strong and poised, had served as a law enforcement officer, her uniform a symbol of protection and integrity. They shared similar values, both deeply devoted to their faith and community. Their relationship had been steady, full of love and mutual respect. They got along so well, in fact, that many saw their connection as a match made in heaven. There were no signs of trouble on the horizon. For years, they built their relationship on the foundation of shared values, and their wedding day seemed to confirm what everyone had suspected: they were meant to be together. On that sunny Saturday afternoon, their ceremony was filled with laughter, vows of eternal devotion, and the smiles of friends and family who cheered them on. To the world, it was the perfect day. A new chapter for the couple, a fresh start in their lives together. But behind the closed doors of their home, the cracks in their seemingly perfect life were beginning to show. Rebecca, it turns out, had been hiding a dark secret, a secret that would not remain buried for long. Unbeknownst to John, the woman he had just married wasn't the person he thought she was. For years, Rebecca had been living a double life, one that no one could have suspected. She wasn't just a dedicated cop, she was also a skilled thief, carefully covering her tracks. She had found ways to funnel money from unsuspecting businesses, stealing from both the people around her and the community she had sworn to protect. John first began to suspect something wasn't right when he started noticing discrepancies in their financial situation. Large sums of money were missing from their shared accounts. Rebecca's credit card statements revealed expensive purchases from pawn shops, items that didn't fit their usual lifestyle. Intrigued and concerned, John began to piece together the fragments of a hidden life. A full investigation into Rebecca's financial activities uncovered a shocking truth: she had been stealing for years. And she hadn't just been getting away with small things. No, Rebecca had been involved in several criminal investigations for theft, although nothing had ever been proven, as she had skillfully avoided detection until now. As these discoveries piled up, John's suspicions turned to confrontation. The night before the murder, in the quiet of their home, John finally asked Rebecca the one question that had been nagging at him: "What's going on, Rebecca? Why are there these charges on our accounts? Why is there so much money unaccounted for?" Rebecca, caught off guard, tried to deflect, but John was relentless. The argument escalated, words were exchanged, and in that moment, Rebecca confessed. She admitted to her thefts, admitted to the years of lies, the crimes hidden beneath the surface of her seemingly flawless life. But confessing wasn't enough. John was shaken, angry, betrayed. This wasn't just a small mistake. Rebecca's entire life had been a deception, a betrayal of the trust he had placed in her. In the early hours of the morning, John called 911. His voice was thick with emotion, barely able to articulate what had happened. "My wife is dead," he told the dispatcher. "I didn't know who she really was." His words sent a chill through the operator's voice, for the reality of what had unfolded was still unclear. But what exactly happened in those final moments? Was John's call one of guilt and grief? Or was it the confession of a man driven by something darker, something that had been building for months, maybe years? As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the events leading up to Rebecca's death were far more complex than anyone had imagined. The question still remains: was this a crime driven by raw emotion, a man who couldn't control his anger in the face of betrayal? Or did something else influence John's actions, something deeper and more calculated? The investigation would reveal answers that no one could have predicted. But as detectives combed through the evidence, they began to piece together a picture of two people, one a thief, the other a man who thought he had everything. Yet, neither of them had any idea how quickly everything could fall apart. What really happened that night? Let's take a closer look at the investigation that followed, and the chilling evidence that was uncovered. As the investigation into Rebecca's death unfolded, the question of John's motivations became even more complex. Was this truly a crime of passion, driven by the shock of betrayal? Or was there something more planned, something darker that John had been hiding all along? The police had their theories, but what do you think? Was John justified in his actions, or did he take matters into his own hands, making a split-second decision that led to murder? What do you believe happened in those final moments before Rebecca's life was tragically cut short? Was it a crime fueled by rage and hurt? Or was there something deeper, something more calculated, at play? Take a moment to think about it, what was John's true motive? Was this a desperate reaction to a betrayal that shattered his world, or did he harbor thoughts of murder long before the confrontation? We want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe this was simply a crime of passion, or was it premeditated? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And now, let's see what you think. We've got a quick poll for you. What do you think was John's motive? Rage over betrayal? A premeditated plan? Something else entirely? Don't forget to vote, and of course, if you're intrigued by the twists and turns of this case, or if you want to explore more real-life mysteries, make sure to like this video, share it, and hit that subscribe button for more chilling true crime content. We'll be covering more unsolved mysteries, shocking twists, and stories you won't believe, so make sure you stay tuned. The investigation was far from over, and as the case moved forward, new questions kept emerging. What did John really know about Rebecca's criminal past? Was he blindsided by the revelation, or had he suspected something all along? Every piece of evidence seemed to lead to another question, an unanswered mystery that was slowly unraveling. As the investigation continued, the police started to piece together the events of that fateful weekend. Was this murder a momentary outburst of rage? Or had John, in the days leading up to the tragedy, seen signs of Rebecca's hidden life and planned his actions accordingly? What did the couple's seemingly perfect life truly hide? The deeper the detectives dug into Rebecca's past, the more shocking details came to light. Each discovery only deepened the mystery: Rebecca's thefts, her lies, the way she had manipulated those around her for years. But could these revelations alone explain the brutal act that had occurred? Was it simply the overwhelming weight of betrayal? Or was there something more chilling at play? One thing was clear: this wasn't just a case of a man snapping in the heat of the moment. The detectives were starting to uncover evidence that hinted at a much more calculated and deliberate series of events. But what exactly had led to Rebecca's tragic end? As the investigation continued, the police reviewed footage from the wedding, a day that now seemed filled with an eerie sense of foreshadowing. Wedding photos, once cherished memories, now told a different story. The timeline of the couple's seemingly perfect life together quickly started to unravel, as each key moment, each phone call, each argument, each discovery, was pieced together. It's hard to imagine how quickly everything could go from joy to destruction. What went wrong between the vows and the end of her life? How did things turn so wrong, so quickly? What was it that pushed John to the edge? As the detectives reviewed Rebecca's hidden life, they uncovered startling information that made it even more unclear whether John had acted out of sheer anger, or if there had been some underlying, more disturbing reason for his actions. Every twist seemed to bring more questions. Did the argument the night before the murder play a larger role than anyone realized? Or was the final act an outcome of years of tension, betrayal, and deceit? And as we move forward, we begin to understand the tension and secrets between this once perfect couple. How did the discovery of Rebecca's secret life, the hidden thefts, the lies, truly impact John? Was he in shock, unable to control his emotions, or did the truth weigh so heavily on him that, in that moment, it became impossible to think clearly? The police had only begun their investigation, and with each new revelation came another chilling piece to the puzzle. This story, once thought to be a simple case of love gone wrong, was unfolding into something much more complex. While Rebecca's actions were undeniably wrong, it's impossible not to feel a sense of tragedy for her. She had once been a respected officer, a woman who seemed to have everything in life going for her: her career, her community standing, and a seemingly loving marriage to a man who trusted her completely. To the outside world, Rebecca was a role model, a woman who represented duty, integrity, and strength. But behind the facade, there was another side to her, a darker truth hidden from view. What drove Rebecca to steal? What pushed her to break the law, to betray not just her husband, but the very people who had trusted her? Was it desperation? Financial struggles that no one knew about? Could addiction have played a role, influencing her actions in ways that no one could understand? As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Rebecca's criminal behavior was not the result of a single poor decision. It was a pattern that had been building over time. Yet, as we look deeper into her story, it's hard not to wonder, what happened to the woman who had so much promise? Rebecca's actions, while criminal, were not born in a vacuum. The forces that shaped her choices were complex, rooted in a history that we may never fully understand. It's easy to judge her for her lies and thefts, but at what point did she lose control? Was she trying to maintain a life that was impossible to afford? Or did her secret life evolve from a single, small step into something much more dangerous? And what about John? What did he feel when he uncovered the truth? At first glance, it might seem like an obvious reaction, a man hurt by betrayal, driven to act in anger. But as the case progressed, it became harder to ignore the possibility that John's motivation went beyond just a breakdown of trust. Could it have been the revelation of a much darker reality, a man who, in the face of deception, was confronted with a life he never truly knew? Did John have a breakdown after discovering his wife's betrayal? Or was there a darker, more calculated motivation at play? What does his reaction tell us about human emotions when trust is shattered, when everything you believe to be true is upended in an instant? This case speaks volumes about the fragile nature of trust in relationships. The secrets we keep, the things we hide from those closest to us, can be incredibly damaging, even if they're never meant to be discovered. How do we navigate the complex web of trust, secrecy, and betrayal in our own lives? And how far can a person be pushed before they decide to act on their emotions, or something darker inside of them? What does this tragedy say about the dangers of keeping secrets, and the consequences that can follow when that trust is broken? Could this have been avoided if the truth had come out sooner, or was there no way to prevent the course of events once Rebecca's secret life was revealed? In the end, John's life was forever changed by the truth of who Rebecca really was. A woman he had loved deeply, trusted completely, and vowed to spend his life with, had lived a double life, one filled with lies, betrayal, and crime. The shocking revelation that Rebecca had been hiding a past filled with theft and deception shattered everything John believed to be true about his wife. The woman he thought he knew had been keeping secrets, a pattern of behavior that ultimately led to tragedy. But the questions surrounding this case don't end with the discovery of Rebecca's secret life. Was John's reaction truly a crime of passion, a moment of uncontrollable rage fueled by betrayal? Or was there something deeper at play? Something more planned and calculated from the very beginning? Was it a single, impulsive act, or had John been stewing on this for far longer than anyone realized? As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that there were still many unanswered questions. What drove John to make the final decision to end his wife's life? And could the truth about their relationship, about the secrets they both kept, ever be fully known? In our next episode, we'll take a deeper look at the trial and the shocking revelations that came to light during the investigation. Did John really act alone? Was he hiding something even darker than anyone had suspected? There's more to this case than meets the eye, and we'll be exploring every detail. If you want to know more about the aftermath of this case, make sure to hit the subscribe button and join us for the next episode. And don't forget to like and comment below with your thoughts. What do you believe really happened that night? Was it a crime of passion? Or was there something darker at play? Could the truth ever be fully known? Or is there still more to uncover about the events that transpired on that fateful night? We'll continue to explore this haunting case, piece by piece. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.